Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Xaereth Gets Critical, brought to you in part by Xaereth Prevails, a Grand Arena story. Before we get into this video, I just wanted to answer the question a lot of people have asked me today, and that is what exactly happened to my final video of the last group. And the fact is it doesn't exist, and it can't exist because all of the footage that I took just didn't save to my phone, and I'm not sure if it was just user error or if it was something else, an act of God perhaps. But one way or another, I did not actually get footage, so I can't make a video. I'll explain what happened in my next Grand Arena Championships video, but that is not what this one is, so let's move forward. Also want to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much for all of the support. I really appreciate it. Now, if anyone wants me to do a Xaereth Gets Critical on their attacks, please just message me through Discord. You can find my Discord server link in the video description for this specific video. Now we're looking at a dude, I'm gonna just call him NaN, and he's fighting r2d2, but the R and the D are not capitalized, so not sure what's up with that. Alright, so looking at the stats here, it looks like they're pretty evenly matched on relics overall. It looks like NaN has maybe a small advantage on the top end, but nothing too egregious. Their gear is actually very evenly matched. NaN does have more access to his roster in the form of gear 12, but not by too much, only 12 characters, and probably none of those are going to be used. Zetas are very close. Mods, NaN has an advantage, but nothing too crazy. But here in the Grand Arena stats, that's the lifetime banners and all of the different, lifetime awards, and NaN clearly has had more success than his opponent. His opponent does not full clear very often, in fact. And NaN is actually going to make r2d2's job a little bit harder in that regard because he put a lot on defense. We have a pretty standard Newt and Kira team, but then Darth Revan's in there. Jedi Training Rey is in there with with geared New Finn and Poe. General Skywalker's on defense, Night Sister's on defense, General Grievous on defense, and then a random Bosk bounty hunter team as well. So lots going on here. NaN is going to have a lot of things to try to do. And one thing I'm going to point out is NaN used the typing thing to be able to get his squads selected fast, and that's totally fine. Nothing against that, except that I don't like to watch it, so I've edited it out of most of the other videos, so expect not to see it except for one other time perhaps. Now, using troopers against a bounty hunter team like this is great as long as your Stark is faster, and this is a good move. I don't really know what r2d2 was thinking, honestly. This is a pretty classic error. I'm guessing that NaN has done this before, and if his opponent had actually looked at the Grand Arena history, then they would have seen that this kind of Bosk team is just not going to fly. It's just not going to work, and especially not in the front zone. Like, that's just a gimme. Especially these Imperial troopers aren't even super well geared. They're all gear 12, and that's fine, but Stark is missing out on at least 10 extra speed. Snow Trooper is missing out on at least 10 million extra damage, and that and even so, they just mailed that bounty hunters team because you killed Boba once, he comes back without any protection, you kill him again, and it's just easy mode. Now, this is a kind of interesting squad, and frankly, it's one of those what was r2d2 thinking moments as well here. Because, frankly, I don't know what Darth Revan is doing without Bastila and Darth Malak. This just seems like a really bad idea. So you always want to take out Bastila first in almost every case with every squad. She's just too good. She debuffs everyone too well. She and she synergizes with Palpatine extremely well, because Palpatine teams are all run off of dispelled, or rather expired debuffs, and the debuffs that she can provide will give this team infinite turn meter if you don't use the right team. So I do like this team. One thing I wanted to point out is NaN has his Grandmaster, or rather his Hoda, his Hermit Yoda, going first on this team, and that lets him put Grandmaster's training on Grandmaster Yoda. And maybe it's just Master's training, it doesn't really matter. And Master's training will not only help Yoda hit harder, but he'll also be able to get turn meter right away. And that's a really helpful thing, because then he can go next and he'll be able to pass out buffs and everything. And then Jedi Revan can, after all of that happens, then he can mark someone and they can take someone out. It's kind of hard to have a faster Hermit Yoda, frankly, unless you get the rest of your squad considerably slower, or I guess you could put gear 13 on him, which is totally fine as well. Now, Malak can be kind of a problem against this squad. He's pretty resilient. Obviously, he's constantly fearing people, even though Grandmaster Yoda is able to put tenacity up on everyone, so that they can resist some of this fear, which, come to think of it, I don't remember if it's resistible or not. Some of it is and some of it isn't. But, even with the tenacity up and everything, like this team can pose quite a threat. Just Malak on his own, I wouldn't say that he poses a huge threat to this Jedi Revan team on his own. Clearly he didn't manage to kill anyone, but that's kind of a risk. That was a good squad selection though, and honestly, killing the characters in the order that NaN did was a good idea. Now the back zone had Geonosians in it, and that was just fine, but the Kylo Ren team with First Order is probably a mistake, to be honest. At the 5.4 million GP level, it is just not going to be able to hold its own very well at Gear 12. Maybe if it's Gear 13, maybe if it has really super crazy fast mods or something, but let's move on to this match here. We get to watch a First Order team take out a Night Sisters team with the help of Wat, and Wat does a lot of good things for this team. He gives the taunting tech to Kylo Ren, and that means that he's just going to funnel all the damage through him, and that's great because he is super tanky. He's constantly regenerating health and protection, and beyond that, Wat gives the weapons tech to First Order Executioner here, and First Order Executioner is going to deny the revives to any character who he takes out. And quite frankly, that combination is just too much for Night Sisters, especially this really low gear Night Sisters team. In a way, I feel robbed because I would have liked to see what kind of damage, really high relic Night Sisters team could actually do to this team. That's really the only way that Night Sisters are going to be able to stand up to this First Order team, because the only reason Night Sisters have been able to stay relevant is because of their various revive shenanigans, and without those revive shenanigans available, they're just, they're glass cannons, and you just can't rely on them to do anything, frankly. They're going to hit hard, and then they're going to die, and they probably won't have taken anyone out because they don't have any resilience. Now you see that NaN is just taking his time, killing zombie a bunch of times, for one of a couple different reasons. Number one could just be that he enjoys killing zombie a lot, and I think that that's really valid. The other reason would be that he's trying to revive, or rather regenerate health and protection, which is also valid, though perhaps less fun. Alright, now we're going to get to what the actual F section of this video, and it's not really NaN's fault here. This Darth Revan team is just so disjointed. Like, I can barely call it a Darth Revan team. It's like random Sith along with HK and Thrawn, and Thrawn is just not an inspired choice for defense anyways. He's so good on offense. Now we see Shakti kind of contemplating here, and I think that maybe this is a mistake on NaN's part because I don't know which button he hit, but if he hit the assist button, just remember you can't call someone to assist against Darth Revan. That's not a thing. You know, I mean, you can call it. It's just not going to actually transpire. So, you know, it's like the episode 8 quote, you know, this is not going to go the way you think. Like, it's just not going to happen. But being said, that's a pretty minor mistake. We all make those small mistakes from time to time in every match, probably. So, you know, overall, this is a pretty bad team. I don't know. I'd be interested to see what other kind of teams could take it out. You know, like, could Commander Luke take it out? I don't really know. But one way or another, it's done, and we can see what's in the back zone here. And there is a really bad Karth team and a Newt team with Watt and Nest, and I guess that's like almost interesting. So you know, we can move on to the next zone, whichever one NaN chooses. So far, I have to say this has been a pretty one-sided match. You know, NaN has only dropped, it looks like 5 total banners, and, you know, taken out the entire front zone. And, you know, that Darth Revan hodgepodge, you know, that split between 2 different squads, don't do that, guys. You know, you can take different characters out of Darth Revan squads and it's fine, but just, it's not a good idea, frankly, to do this very often. So, you know, now NaN is taking Geonosians against a Newt team with Watt. And, you know, if you're going to take Watt on a team, take him with a tank. Like, that's, in my opinion, that's just what you need to do. Like, he gives the taunting tech to someone, and it doesn't make any sense for him to hand it off to someone who doesn't actually taunt. Furthermore, if you're going to have this kind of team where, you know, everyone is just out in the open without a tank, you need some kind of pseudo taunt, and that works when you have Dooku. However, Dooku was nonsensically with that Darth Revan team previously and did absolutely nothing with it. Like, I don't really know. I'm starting to see why r2d2 had his letters lowercase, because this is not necessarily a good look for him. Now, all that said, NaN has done a good job of, you know, handling this squad well. The biggest challenge, really, to facing the squad using Geonosians is going to be taking out Nest, because if Nest is the last one alive, then she will eventually, like, if you don't get decent luck, then Nest is just going to be able to solo this team over time. Now, you know, so what you do is you just target other separatists, and then when you have Spy available with a big hit, you just target Nest and try to one-shot her, and that usually works. And that's exactly what NaN did. So, handled well. That squad was a huge mess, though. It could have been about 1,000 times better. You know, it could have been 20,000 times better. I don't know if I know any numbers bigger than that, frankly, or I would use that to describe it. Alright, so we've got the classic Palpatine team here with Thrawn, and, you know, against this Old Republic team. That's great. You know, absolutely a good choice. He put Fracture onto Zalbar, which is great, because Zalbar is the one who is going to passively taunt. He's going to be the one who causes a lot of issues with all the various synergies he has with Mission. And now that Zalbar's hands are tied behind his back, well, they're not anymore. Fracture went away, but he's stunned. You know, this is just going to be an easy match. If you can find some way to subdue Zalbar, which isn't that hard, just Fracture, or, you know, isolate if you're using Treya, or, you know, ignore his taunt if you're using bounty hunters, whatever. You know, if you can find some way to negate that, then awesome. You know, you can just kill everyone else because they're all really, really easy to take out. You know, I kind of like the variant squads with like L3 in it, because it gives you another passively taunting tank that maybe she doesn't passively taunt, but she does other annoying things. You know, but this was a quite dominant win. Good choice on the part of NaN, and, you know, nothing really to say here other than, maybe ask r2d2 to put some gear on these teams that are on defense, because they, they're not even gear 12 all the way. Like, if you're going to rely on these squads stealing banners, they need to have higher gear. So now we're doing the classic Treya versus Geos thing here. This is kind of a fun twist on things. Barris is in there, and the Geonosians decided that they didn't really care about her, and decided to get all ignorant. So they wiped her out. I don't really know. That's an interesting idea to put Barris with them. Clearly she's not resilient enough to last if they focus on her, at least at, gear 12 or whatever that she was. But, this Treya squad, there's really nothing you can do. You just watch the Geonosians, bang their head against the wall over and over again, and you just hope that, they destroy themselves doing that. And eventually they'll get weak enough that you can just take out one of them. If you can take out the Brood Alpha, then wonderful. If they don't get weak enough, eventually they're just going to pummel you to death, and that's fun too if you're not the person controlling them. And, First Order, or rather Sith Trooper is down for the count now. And, there's some interesting RNG here. I'm not going to presume anything, but, what if Spy had targeted Nihilus or Treya or Scion early on, with those big hits? Like, would this actually have ended up in a win? You never know, but clearly, like, these three Sith are the most resilient on the team, and I do think that it's wise of NaN to have taken 5 characters, because it at least dilutes the pool. Like, the Spy could totally screw you over if you're not careful. If you're unfortunate, he could do a huge hit on one of your characters and kill it. But if you have 5 for it to choose from, like, Barris is not really necessary. She's not a necessary component to victory there, and neither is Sith Trooper. And so if he chooses those, which he clearly did, then you can win. So I think that's wise. Now, this last match here, Commander Luke against a First Order team. This is good. There's no C-3PO here. You never want to take C-3PO against First Order. And the reason for that is he causes so many debuffs that he'll actually keep Kylo Ren healed, and you'll never be able to kill him because of his rules, his kit to be able to regenerate things. Now, I actually think that R2 is also unnecessary here. He does add a few good buffs to this team, but I don't really think it's worth the banner loss, because he has no way of regenerating health or protection. He's just going to cost you at least 1 banner, maybe 2, and really if you just leave him off, your CLS trio is still going to be able to take out a First Order team of equal or lesser gear, which this First Order team was nothing to write home about at all. So this was a pretty strong clear by NaN. One shot all the different teams. He left his 2 best teams on defense, which is always strong. If you can manage both things, a full clear with decent efficiency, and being able to put your 2 best teams on offense on defense, that's pretty strong. I think my biggest question is, what would have happened? What would NaN have been able to do if this guy had put his full Darth Revan team as one cohesive, actually good squad on defense? Like, he had Padme available, and maybe he's good with that counter, but it's just something to think about, because if you put your 2 best teams on defense and your opponent decides to go, you change things up on offense, or rather on their defense, like, it's going to be really hard to adapt. And if Padme hadn't been able to chew through a full Darth Revan squad that was actually good, then that there's maybe no recourse, depending on how successful she was at killing parts of that squad. So just something to be thinking about. It's not necessarily a criticism. I think that clearly NaN had a plan, and it went off well. So let's actually take a look at the final score here, and then at the different teams that his opponent used to be able to clear him. Alright, I used Snippet to take this, and now it's all blurry, but NaN clearly won. 1904 to less than 1600 is pretty good, to the fake r2d2. So r2d2 failed against this Kira team with Nest. It looks like a timeout against Nest, which does absolutely happen, obviously. Troopers couldn't seal the deal against Night Sisters, like a bad Night Sisters team with Baze and Xaereth. And then, they actually had General Grievous on offense. How awkward is that? So they won with that, but then failed to kill Nest with a droid team and probe droid, so that's kind of funny. And then like a hodgepodge Shock T team couldn't take out the Bosk bounty hunters, and then Ewoks couldn't kill the bounty hunters, and so that's fine, I guess. That's surprising. They must be pretty bad Ewoks. And then Kira is also on offense for some reason, and with Wampa still couldn't kill the bounty hunters, and that's basically where we're at. So congratulations to NaN on a fairly dominant finals match, and I hope you make Kyber. I don't know if you're in contention. I assume you are, because you played pretty well. So good luck to you on that, and I'm going to sign off here, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and remember that in all things, Xaereth prevails. And this time, NaN did too. And r2d2 did not at all come close to prevailing.